Hi and welcome to CGTN's live streaming news coverage of the raising of the Phoenix. Now the Phoenix was a tourist boat that sank on July the 15th of this year, taking with it the lives of 47 Chinese tourists who were on board that day. Now currently we're 3.5 kilometers off the coast of Phuket. Phuket's back this way, I don't know if you can see it in the far distance. We're currently aboard an enormous floating platform which is being put here, well it was being floated up here yesterday, and on top of this platform, which has come up from Singapore, is an enormous crane which you can see up here in the background. Now this is a piece of very specialist marine equipment. There's been a Thai salvage company which has been working here trying to raise the Phoenix for the last 2 months. They admitted defeat in the last week because they said it was just too complicated. Although the sea around here looks pretty placid, the problem is the undercurrents, and it's just been unable for the Thai salvage company to get the ship raised. So this has been floated up from Singapore. It arrived in Phuket's deep sea port yesterday, came out here overnight, and we understand at the moment there are divers working underwater to attach holes which will bring the Phoenix up. They say that work is going to take place through most of the day, but if things go according to plan, they hope that these kind of struts, and again you can see these massive steel girders down here, these are the things that the divers will then try to put in place to lift up the Phoenix. They say if all goes according to plan tomorrow, and you can see here the acetylene torches, the gases that they're going to be using to weld these into place so that the boat can come up. Now it is quite an astonishing stable platform here. There are lots of divers here from Malaysia and Singapore. We've got the Thai salvage team as well. Over here we can see at the moment a lot of Thai police too. Now they're here because the raising of the Phoenix is a very important part of the investigation into what actually went wrong. The captain and the owner of the boat have been held for some time. They're currently out of prison on bail. They say that the waters here were very choppy, that there were meters of 4 and 5, there were waters of 4 and 5 meter waves which very quickly flooded the boat and took it down very unexpectedly. It's thought that if they can raise the body of the Phoenix relatively intact, they should have a slightly better idea of whether that was the case or whether there was a problem with the boat's structural integrity. It was built here in Thailand. So there are many clues that the investigation will be looking at. And actually we can see the Major General who's in charge of the investigation over here. He's leading the Thai delegation, the Thai police delegation. And we were talking to the head of the Thai salvage team also earlier today, and he was saying that one of the biggest problems they're facing at the moment is that the Phoenix, the wreckage of the Phoenix, is 47 meters underwater. There are those strong currents, but also with the shifting seas, it's it's been covered by a meter of sand. Now, while this crane is capable of lifting 1,200 tons, and the body of the Phoenix was only 130 tons, this should be more than capable. But because of that extra weight of the sand that's covering it, they're very concerned that if they lift it in the wrong way, too quickly, or putting stresses on the wrong parts of the boat, that it could break apart. And he was pointing out this crane here, which he said if this was just an ordinary salvage operation, they would use these things. This is just basically an enormous clasp. Now this would grab onto the Phoenix, yank it out of the water, but they can't do that in this instance because of the need to maintain the structural integrity of the boat for that police investigation. In fact, I think if we come over here, we can see the head of that salvage operation. He's currently giving a briefing, so let's go and see if we can listen in. He's also got some illustrations here. And we can see some of those complications. So just here on the left-hand side of the map, there's the position of the Phoenix in relation to Phuket. You can see it's really not very far off land. On that fateful day, the 15th of July, it was heading out to a popular snorkeling site with more than 100 tourists on board. It collided with another tourist boat. All of the tourists on that boat survived, but tragically, 47 people on the Phoenix lost their lives. We can also see here the wind direction and some of the problems that they've been dealing with, how the underwater currents have been moving. There's a map down here in the bottom right-hand side. Oops, being slightly obscured. We can just have a look here. We can see the Phoenix and how they're hoping to attract, to lift it up. And you can see here, they're obviously identifying these 2 points, which they'll attach to 2 of their girders to lift here. And up here you can see the position of this crane. So the crane will be elevated, slung, the sling put down over the back of the boat and lifted upright. It is going to be quite a feat of engineering. Again, I mean, 130 tons sounds like an enormous amount. The fact this crane can almost lift 10 times that, I think, is an illustration of just how much resources the Thai government is putting into this. There is also another question here, though. Why is so much effort going into this? And I think for the Thai authorities, it has been very problematic. Chinese tourism has exploded enormously over the past decade and has brought an awful lot of revenue to the Thai tourist industry, which has seen a slow decline in visitors from Europe and America. Unfortunately, the handling of this disaster was not conducted very carefully. The Deputy Prime Minister General Prawit said rather carelessly in the immediate aftermath of the disaster that it was a Chinese tour company that was operating the boat and that the Thais had no control over it. Well, that turned out not to be the case. It was a Thai company. The owner and the captain of the boat have been held. There are an awful lot of questions about how it was that the captain and the 11 crew members managed to escape on life rafts with no problem at all, and yet so many of the Chinese tourists on board suffered fatality. So many of them passed away. But I think this process, and you can see the assembled media here that have been brought out by the Thai police, clearly they're very keen to show that they are doing their utmost in this investigation. We just spoke to the Major General who told us that this was fundamentally important. Also to bring justice to the families of the Chinese victims. He said those people need some element of closure. So that is all going to go on a little later on today. Excuse me, sir, I wonder if you could answer a couple of questions. We're live on CGTN at the moment, but you were telling me a little earlier your plan for today. When do you think the earliest is that you can lift the Phoenix off the bottom?
Tonight we will anchor the crane boat. We have to anchor. We have to drop the 4 anchor down, but actually we dropped 2 per one position. So actually altogether now is 8 anchors that we have to drop, and then we line up the crane barge along the side, parallel with the Phoenix. We need a parallel scenario because if you have a sort of an anchor or bed, when you lift up, it will be not so easy. So we have to line up with the Phoenix, all right? And tomorrow we plan to start working about 5 o'clock in the morning. We will drop the spreader bar down, hook up the rope that we prepare. The rope is 168 safe working load, ton working load. And when we finish hook up, we start lifting about 7 o'clock in the morning. And if not, we have a second option to lift in the afternoon.
And so if all goes according to plan, the Phoenix should be raised again at about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 8 or 9?
Exactly. That's what we plan.
And the problems you mentioned earlier, the sand that's on top of the Phoenix, that could be a problem?
It's not on top of the Phoenix. The Phoenix, she is down under the sand by 1 meter.
Right.
So, but the bottom half is under the sand by 1 meter. We don't know whether the sand is sucking the boat down or not. That's why we have to lift slowly at the first step. Okay, to sort of to check the stability of the boat, to check the tension of the rope, to check all the lifting equipment. If we are certain, we will lift her up.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that was Kontanapat, the head of the Thai salvage operation, giving us a briefing there. Of course, they have had a Thai team here trying for the last 2 months to raise this boat, so it is by far from assured that the Phoenix will be raised in the next 24 hours. But they haven't had equipment like this, and I think this is going to make an enormous difference. The fact that we're dealing with a crane that is capable of lifting such enormous weights. But with that, we will be watching this story closely. We will bring you any developments as and when they happen live on CGTN. But for now, this is Tony Cheng signing off. 3.5 kilometers off the coast of Phuket, floating in the Andaman Sea.